All right, it's time for some SpaceX news with our buddy Eli. Take it away.
Welcome back to the Starman Report. I'm Eli Burton, your host. And man, was this an exciting week for SpaceX. On Sunday, we watched SpaceX make a successful catch on the very first attempt of recovering the Starship Super Heavy booster. This was an incredible sight and a truly historic moment in the history of spaceflight development. And that event alone would have made this week incredible, but it doesn't stop there. On Monday, October 14th, SpaceX launched a Falcon Heavy carrying the Europa Clipper mission for NASA. Europa Clipper is the first mission designed to study Jupiter's moon, Europa. There is scientific evidence that the conditions for life exist on Europa right now, so NASA is sending a probe to explore it. So currently, the Europa Clipper is headed toward Mars, where it will come within 300 to 600 miles of the surface, then slingshot back towards Earth, coming about 2,000 miles from us. Through these gravity assists, Europa Clipper will reach the necessary velocity to reach Jupiter by April of 2030. And yes, the Clipper is going to take a loop around Mars, then a loop back around Earth, just to reach the speed necessary to reach Jupiter in a reasonable amount of time. We are currently in an era of space exploration where the primary focus is increasing lift off the planet, with what is known as heavy lift launch vehicles. Once heavy lift is solved, of which the SpaceX Starship is a critical component, the next priority for spaceship development will be engine technology so that we can increase the speed of our travel between celestial bodies in the vacuum of space. If you like science fiction, or have ever seen Star Trek, Star Wars, or even Spaceballs,
ludicrous speed! Go!
you are familiar with the concept of speed of light travel. The good news is that for exploration of our solar system, we don't need to go anywhere close to light speed travel to make interplanetary travel and exploration possible. At a speed of just 1/10,000th the speed of light, we could complete the 1.8 billion miles of the Europa Clipper mission in 1 hour instead of what is currently 5 years. Science is fun, isn't it? Anyway, back to the present. SpaceX has just secured new U.S. government contracts valued at $733 million. And here's what the contracts entail. These missions are integral to the NSSL Phase 3 program, which provides strategic launches to the U.S. defense and intelligence communities. Which all of that means is we are not exactly going to find out what's going on these missions because it's a matter of national security, but it's great to see SpaceX continuing to win the government's trust and responsibility. SpaceX really has become a well-oiled machine in a way that has never existed in the history of human spaceflight. For our kids, seeing a rocket going to space is going to be normal. And how exciting is that? Well, guys, that's all for this time. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Starman Report. And back to you, Zach and Jesse.
Thanks, Eli. And for some more SpaceX news, last Friday, SpaceX submitted a request to the FCC for several small but meaningful updates to its second-generation Starlink satellite network, saying together, this modification and its companion amendment will enable the Gen 2 system to deliver gigabit speed, truly low-latency broadband, and ubiquitous mobile connectivity to all Americans and the billions of people globally who still lack access to adequate broadband. SpaceX is requesting to lower the orbital altitudes of its satellite shells by 45 kilometers and 60 kilometers, and utilizing the E-band frequencies for improved service delivery. SpaceX is also requesting that the FCC let them deploy 29,988 satellites. So back in 2022, the FCC only granted permission for 7,500 satellites. These Gen 2 satellites are slated to be deployed using SpaceX's Starship. Yeah, Elon said the next generation Starlink satellites, which are so big that only Starship can launch them, will allow for a 10x increase in bandwidth and with the reduced altitude, faster latency. And I think that a lot of people are going to get worried and they're going to be like, the satellites are closer to us. They're going to hit me in the head. And it's like, no. Actually, if you really want to think about orbital health, it's actually better to have the satellites lower because then if they, do malfunction or something, it's a shorter amount of time until they deorbit themselves naturally. Burning up in the atmosphere. In the atmosphere, they're not going to hit you in the head. Elon posted, note,
gigabits per second speeds can already be achieved by using 3 to 4 satellite terminals together. Future terminals will be able to achieve over 1 gigabit per second in a single unit.
I didn't know either of these things. I mean, I guess I thought that Starlink was never going to compete with like hardwired internet. But if the FCC grants SpaceX their latest permit for 30,000 more Gen 2 satellites, this could be a game changer in how the world connects to the internet.
Because let's not forget, for all of you who were asleep for the past week, SpaceX did this.
And Elon said, even rockets need hugs. Or how about this angle? And Elon said, hopefully early next year, we will catch the ship too. That's the Starship. And I just wanted to show you this photo here from Thomas Godden. He says, turns out I was absolutely spamming the shutter out of excitement. So here's a landing collage. Cool to see how the TVC gimbals to pitch the booster back to vertical before lowering onto the tower. If you just type in Starship booster landing in X, you will see so many cool videos. Elon went on to say, it'll truly be glorious when the ship is caught too and the whole stack immediately flies again. Full and immediate, no mandatory refurbishment, reusability with low-cost propellant, almost 80% liquid oxygen, no helium pressurant, will mean a marginal cost per ton 100 times better than Falcon, which is already over 10 times better than the shuttle. This is the fork in the road of destiny that will enable humanity to become a multi-planet civilization. Wow. And getting a bit overshadowed by its bigger cousin Starship, Falcon Heavy launched for the 11th time from Pad 39A in Florida on October 14th, as Eli talked about.
Liftoff for Falcon Heavy with Europa Clipper, unveiling the mysteries of an enormous ocean lurking beneath the icy crust of Jupiter's moon, Europa.
It's kind of funny to think that not only has a Falcon Heavy launch become so commonplace, but also it is no longer the biggest rocket being launched on a regular basis.
And that it's not the only big rocket relanding its boosters. This was the 6th and final flight for the 2 side boosters, which 1 year ago today supported NASA's Psyche and previous missions.
Now, these 2 side boosters were basically sacrificed to get enough Delta V on this launch. So they basically expended all of their fuel and burnt up in the atmosphere.
Wait, so they just threw away the boosters?
Well, these boosters have been reused before. And since a Falcon booster costs about $36 million to make, and these boosters were used 6 times, that means that SpaceX saved about $350 million just on these 2 boosters alone.
Wouldn't that be 360 million? Like 36 times 10?
Well, it does cost SpaceX about $1 million to refurbish the booster after each launch.
Okay.
So
350 million, not bad.
I think they got their use out of them, and then they got to launch this very important probe.
Elon said, one of our most important launches ever. Super glad it went well. Europa has the highest chance of life in our solar system because of the thick protective shell of ice that covers its ocean. He went on to say, if even simple bacterial life is discovered on Europa, this will be the most significant planetary mission ever. Godspeed, Europa Clipper. Now, Europa is about the same size as our moon, and yet scientists believe that it has more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Crazy to think about. So we'll know more in 2030. Stay tuned. So SpaceX completed its 100th launch of the year last Tuesday as Falcon 9 with first stage booster B1080 delivered 23 Starlink satellites to orbit.
By the way, that booster, B1080, has had 10 previous flights, including a mission that took astronauts to the International Space Station.
Wow.
And as we reported last week, Elon has said that he was going to do it, and he did it.
Yeah, the California Coastal Commission, which oversees 1,000 miles of California coastline, ruled on October 10th in a 6-4 vote that SpaceX would not be allowed to increase to 50 Falcon 9 launches annually from Vandenberg Space Force Base.
And as Elon said he would, SpaceX filed a lawsuit against the California Coastal Commission last Tuesday, claiming that the vote was politically motivated because of comments made by certain members.
Commission Chair Carol Hart had said during the meeting, we're dealing with a company, the head of which has aggressively injected himself into the presidential race.
And Commissioner Gretchen Newsom said at the meeting, Elon Musk is hopping about the country, spewing and tweeting political falsehoods and attacking FEMA while claiming his desire to help hurricane victims with free Starlink access to the internet.
Elon posted on X, the Coastal Commission has one job, take care of the California coast. It is illegal for them to make decisions based on what they, mostly wrongly, think are my politics. For example, I've done more to advance sustainable energy and help the environment than maybe anyone ever, which is not exactly a far-right position. Yet here they are shamelessly breaking the law. They should resign immediately and face the appropriate legal consequences for their actions.
We're going to be discussing this further on this week's Patreon bonus stories.
And we'll see if the California Coastal Commission can defend their position in court now. Seems very unlikely, and we'll talk about some case law on Patreon bonus story.
And they're not even getting support from Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
That's right.
Who is politically on the opposite end of Elon Musk. And I think he knows that if he were to support the California Coastal Commission, he'd be committing political suicide because it's undefendable. It's indefensible, their stupid position.
Yep. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching Now You Know Clips.
You can watch full episodes of Tesla Time News on Tuesdays and in-depths on Fridays. Just click the link down below and head over to the Now You Know channel.